Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Harsch, your school librarian, and I'm here to talk to you about a new book series that we have available for you to check out in our library. It's called A Wicked History, and it highlights the most ruthless, heartless, malicious rulers and vagabonds that we know of. All of the books are nonfiction, so you'll be learning while being entertained. You know how they always say you need to learn about history so that it doesn't repeat itself? Well, they're talking about the people in this book series. So I'm going to jump right in and show you a few titles that are available. I'm going to start with this one, Ivan the Terrible, written by Sean Price. So Ivan was heir to the Russian throne when his parents were murdered when he was only 3 years old. This left Ivan in constant fear for his life, as you can imagine. So this violent upbringing led him to be a very cruel, hard-hearted person. It's not that Ivan wanted to be terrible, it's just the circumstances worked against him. In fact, let me read you a prophecy that was given to Ivan's father when he was young. He said to his dad, "You shall have an evil son. Your nation shall become prey to terror and tears. Rivers of blood will flow. The heads of the mighty will fall. Your cities will be devoured by flames." It's pretty heavy. And you know what? That prophecy absolutely became true. Now, when Ivan was old enough and he gained his throne, he did try to be a good ruler. He took a wife and he helped out Moscow, which had suffered a devastating fire, and he even conquered some lands to get some power for Russia. But all that happiness was short-lived. This man loved torture. He loved violence. There's even an account where he takes one of his enemies, sews him into a bearskin, and lets his dogs loose. So what happened to make Ivan so heartless? What else did he do to get the nickname the Terrible? And how did his torturous reign end? Well, you're going to have to read to see who stopped him. It's a good one. You want to pick this one up. Next person I want to talk to you about is Mary Tudor. Now, this book was written by Jane Buchanan, and Mary had some pretty famous parents, King Henry VIII of England and Catherine of Aragon. Now, the problem with this marriage is it never produced a male heir to the throne. So her parents got divorced, and Mary was stripped of her title as princess, and all of those luxuries and fineries that she was used to, all taken away. So now she is forced, with royal blood, to live in a destitute condition. Didn't lead to much happiness, and eventually she becomes queen. She has to overcome several plots to kill her, and she decides, well, she's going to get even. The first thing she's going to do is she's going to convert England from Protestant back to Catholic. But that didn't go over so well. People didn't like it, and they resisted her. So what did Mary do? Well, she beheaded, hanged, and burned over 300 people who opposed her in Catholicism. That's how she got her nickname Bloody Mary. And in fact, I'm going to show you a picture of one of those. This is a picture depicting John Rogers when he was burned at the stake for opposing Mary. Now, what makes John Rogers' case stick out a little bit is that it was a particularly windy day when he was being executed, and the flames didn't catch on very well. So he was forced to endure fire all up his legs and not die for a long time. It was gruesome, and it stuck in people's brains. So, what happened to Mary? Why did she kill so many innocent people? And was her sister behind a secret plot to overthrow and execute her? And what finally caused her demise? You're going to have to read to find out. Now, here is somebody a little more recent in history that you probably know of. Joseph Stalin. And this book was written by Sean McCullum. So Stalin grew up in Russia at the turn of the century, and he was a filthy, destitute, poor little boy. And those conditions led him to be mean. And he grew up to be a hard-hearted bully, and he had no respect for authority whatsoever. In fact, whenever he became school age, he rebelled a little bit and was kicked out of school for defying his schoolmaster. Well, that's just Stalin for you. He then joined a rebellious group called the Bolsheviks, and they were bad news for the Tsar of Russia. They wanted to get rid of the Tsar. So you can imagine he had to hide a lot and change his name. Stalin isn't his real name. It's his fake rebellion name. So what happened whenever these Bolsheviks overthrew the Tsar? Well, they decided to enact their plan of communism. You've probably heard of it. So Stalin, along with the other party members, they shot workers who didn't want to go along with their plan. They confiscated food and other goods from hard-working farmers, and they burned down villages just because they didn't produce enough supplies for the Communist Party. So what happens when the leader, Lenin, of the Communist Party dies? Well, Stalin uses some pretty brutal tactics to gain power. I'm not going to tell you what they are. You have to read, because he's a pretty ruthless, sneaky man, because he was very smart. So when he comes to power, that's when his wickedness really comes out. He enacted a reign of terror, a great cleansing of Russia, and over 2 million people just disappeared. Where did they go? I don't know. I'm going to read you an excerpt from this narrative. Stalin had accomplished what he had set out to do. In 2 years, he had erased almost everyone who could challenge his one-man dictatorship and terrorize those who survived. The scale of the Great Terror was staggering. At least 1.7 million Soviet citizens had been torn from their homes and imprisoned. More than 700,000 of those prisoners ended up in mass graves. The rest spent their lives wasting away in the gulags. Yikes. So, how did Stalin's time in power come to an end? And what about World War II? That factors in here. You're going to have to just pick up this book and see how it ends. Okay, it's very important. So, what makes A Wicked History so special is that it's really easy to read, so you don't realize that it's nonfiction, that you're learning while you're being entertained. In addition, these books have tons of pictures. They have a glossary, a timeline, family trees, and my favorite part is there's a whole page on each book with other sources that have information about these wicked people. So if you want to learn more and go more in depth, you've already got some good sources and a good starting point. So some other titles to get you enticed, and these are just a few. We've got Sir Francis Drake. Now he was a pirate. You can imagine some of the wicked things he did. Grigory Rasputin. Was he a holy man or was he mad? You're going to have to read to find out. And my favorite, Alexander the Great. Now his nickname is the exact opposite of Ivan the Terrible. So what did he do to make him part of our Wicked History series? I don't know, I'm not going to spoil it for you. So I hope you enjoyed our book talk and that you're excited and that you found a title that you would want to check out. So come to the library and see me, and we'll get one of these books in your hand real soon. Bye, thanks for reading.